Today I'm ranking my ADHD Hyperfocus Hobbies Art Edition. I'm exclusively focusing on my art ones because if I try and cover all of them, we'll be here for hours. You might be wondering, who the hell is this guy? Why should we care? I don't know. I don't know why you'd care. I'm an illustrator, writer, animator that somehow gets by making stuff. I'm hoping that I'm popping stuff up on screen now. These are some things I've made. The only reason I'm showing it is because I'm about to reveal a whole bunch of really strange stuff that I've made over the years. A bunch of side projects, shows I've tried to make, weird illustration things that I've gone down. But these are all just hobbies and side projects and things that I've dipped into over the years in an ADHD frenzy. And today we're ranking them. Yeah, it should be fun. And in typical ADHD fashion, I'm going to work on a painting at the same time because who doesn't love taking on more than one thing at the same time, eh? Okay, we're going to kick it off with a banger. A few years ago, I decided to make an animated nature documentary, and you might have already recognised the fatal flaw in that concept. Who wants to see a nature documentary that's animated when the whole point about nature documentaries is that they're beautiful and showing all these incredible things that we don't usually see? Anyway, time for paint. I probably spent 3 months working. I've got paint on me already. How have I done that? Right, now I've got the paint off my hands, let's continue. It was actually really fun to make, but the problem is it just takes so long. Trying to animate anything just takes forever. Trying to write and research, write, illustrate, and then animate everything yourself. Yeah, just took way too long. The result was kind of cool though. I don't like the style. I think the style is really old and dated, and the animation isn't great because I was trying to churn out 10 minutes of animation a month on top of all my professional work as well. But the best part about it was the writing. The writing was so much fun, coming up with different ideas and how could you take these different facts and turn it into something like a cohesive story that all fits together whilst providing like a ton of value and information. That was really cool. But again, totally flawed concept. So how does it rank? On a fun scale, only a 3 out of 5. If I was just illustrating it or just writing it, it would have probably been a 5 out of 5 banger, but no. It was equal parts slog and equal parts fun, so sort of balanced it out. Usefulness scale, 4 out of 5, because I write all the time, so the writing elements from it, really useful. The taking on and tackling really big projects, that was really useful, and that's all stuff that's kind of spilled into my life now, so yeah. You might be wondering, why am I starting with black paint? Slightly regretting my decisions, but I want to try and get really clean lines, so I'm hoping that if I do black first, the lines will come out really clean. Anyway, you'll find out why this keyboard has a load of paint on it later in this video. I've been trying to find a way to create really straight lines for ages, and this feels like the perfect tool. So for the very first line on this painting, I'm gonna test it out and see if it works. And I might mess up the entire piece already, so let's see. Bad idea. I'm gonna have to do it by hand. Next, we have the faces phase, and I'll pop up some images and videos on screen now. And essentially what I was doing was tracing over faces of famous people and turning them into kind of semi-interesting looking vectors. And it was entirely pointless because I can't use any of it because of copyright law, and I wasn't learning anything because I was just tracing over images. So overall, 3 out of 5 for fun because it wasn't even that fun to do, and 0 out of 5 for usefulness because what are you going to use them for, and what skills have you learned? Nothing. Hold on. Up next we have the animated short film era, and Spoiler alert, none of these films got finished or even started production. But for the longest time I wanted to make animated shorts. This one is a story called Arcade King, which is a terrible, terrible title. But the loose idea for it was this person was obsessed with playing in like an old school arcade, and then they lose themselves inside the game. The problem with these is that the style was terrible, so it wouldn't have worked. It would have looked terrible, so I'm glad that I didn't make them. The next one I did even less work on, and it's a story about a dog who's neglected by its owner because their owner is too obsessed scrolling on Instagram, looking at funny videos of dogs and stuff to pay attention to their own dog. And then the dog's ball flies out of a window, it chases after it, and it goes on this adventure through an old-timey New York City street. If you've ever seen one of those Rube Goldberg machines where something knocks into this and then this happens and all the dominoes fall down and then that sets off fireworks or whatever. It was that kind of idea, this sort of trail of destruction through New York City and interacting with all these different things and going on this big adventure to find its ball. I thought it would be really cool to make animated films, send it off to festivals, and then travel about to festivals and meet interesting people and stuff. The problem is that they take an insane amount of time to do. On to the scores. For this one, fun scale, I would say it's a 4. It was really fun. You're just inventing stories, coming up with ideas. How much more fun is that? But it's not a full 5 because I never finished it, so it clearly wasn't that fun. Usefulness. 3 out of 5. Only a 3 because I've got no intention of making an animated film anytime soon. However, the writing side of it, I think that was really useful. On to the next phase, and I'm going to name this the Punk Sally phase. And the reason I'm calling it that is because of one of the file names that I gave these horrifically bad illustrations. And I also was making these really strange videos of throwing paint on my Mac, and it was an old Mac. It was pretty much dead before this even started. I think I was sort of just screaming out inside, needing to do something creative, but I hadn't quite put the pieces together of what creative activity I needed to be doing. And I made loads of these. I mean, like, loads. So yeah, let's move on swiftly from this because nobody wants to look at that anymore. It's gross. Let's get rid of it. On to the score. 5 out of 5 for fun, because who doesn't want to throw paint on overpriced computers? Isn't that the most fun in the world? Actually, this is the famous keyboard, or not so famous because nobody's seen my videos, but yeah, it's gross. And before anyone thinks I'm just trashing all my stuff, it's already broken. It was already broke. But yeah, 5 out of 5 for fun, 0 out of 5 for usefulness because it's entirely pointless. It's a good time though. Let's move on to the next one. I need to work on the colour. I don't know if putting black on first was a good idea because I've already messed all the lines up. Up next we have animal illustrations, and I actually really like how these turned out. I was getting more confident with illustration around this time, and again I was still in that sort of weird vectorized style, which I'm glad that I've kind of gotten away from now. But at least with these, they created quite an interesting aesthetic, I think. Onto the score. On a fun scale, I would say a 4 out of 5. Not quite as fun as throwing paint around, but nevertheless, it was still, I enjoyed it, you know? Usefulness, 3 out of 5. I think that actually this helped me develop as an illustrator. On to the next one, but first, more painting. Next up, we have a weird one. I mean, they've all been weird, but this one, it gets a bit strange. I built this website that searched the top inspirational quotes and then picked pieces of them together to create what would theoretically be the most inspirational quote of all time. But in making it, I realized that when you mash all these quotes together, none of them really make sense. So I spent ages making this formula where the sentences sort of made sense, but it just all came out awful, hence why it was called Uninspire, because it was just a load of nonsense. Why I made it, I was kind of wanting to learn how to program, which is why I was like, right, how can you connect this database of all these different things, and then coming up with formulas of how do you take all these parts of different quotes and put them together in a way that should read theoretically like a normal sentence. And then it got really strange because for the design of a website I had this albatross, and there was this whole backstory about why this albatross was there. So yeah, a weird one, not that arty, but sort of arty-ish. Fun scale, I'd go a solid 4 out of 5, purely based on the fact that I was just learning stuff. I was building a website, I was trying to figure out programming, and I find that stuff fun. Just trying to work stuff out is fun for me. Usefulness, 1. Why would I ever need to know that? I'm giving it a 1 because I quite like websites. Knowing how to build websites and stuff is useful. On to the next one, but first, more painting. It's slowly coming together, slowly. It always looks really weird in the middle and feels like, oh, this is going to turn out terrible. And then at the end, all comes together. Or it doesn't, and you regret your life choices, but usually it all works out. Up next, we've got videos, and I love making videos. I think it's so much fun, but I've made some really, really cringe videos over the years. And I've also made ones that I've put so much time and effort into crazy VFX sequences where you fly through the ceiling into a living room, and at the end there was this big pan out, and yeah, it's just way too much effort that wasn't needed. And making videos like this is really fun. It's quite easy to make. I'm just going about my business, talking about art and creativity and stuff. But making those videos took so much time and planning and effort, and now they're all hidden away, never to be seen again. Although I do think it'd be really funny to react to my super cringe videos from the past, but I don't know if I want to share. On to a score. Making videos, 5 out of 5 for fun. Who doesn't love making videos? Well, I mean, I like making videos. Maybe you don't. Usefulness scale. I'd say it's a 3 out of 5. The actual process of making videos is quite useful, especially if you've run any sort of business. Being able to chuck videos together quickly for marketing, yeah, it saves a ton of time and money. But I didn't need any of the fancy stuff or the weird stuff, and yeah, so it's not all of it's useful. On to the next one, but okay, up next we have my vector lapse phase. Vector lapse was the name that I gave for these vector time lapses that I was creating. And this piece, I think, was the coolest out of them. It was of this alien abduction in the woods, and the lighting was kind of interesting, but style-wise it's so different to what I'm doing now that, yeah, it's not that useful. But it did make an interesting video. Onto a score. The fun rating for it, 3 out of 5. It's kind of interesting, but illustrating like that in Illustrator isn't that much of a fun process. It feels quite formulaic and repetitive, and it doesn't feel artistic and free and like you're putting energy into something and expressing yourself. Usefulness, 2 out of 5. I mean, the illustration came out sort of interesting, so I guess that's got some use. But overall, not that useful. Next up on the painting is the fun part where I get to destroy it. It's the best part of a painting, turning it into something more chaotic and energetic and fun. Just make it feel alive and just arty BS nonsense, you know. Next up we have the animated loop phase, which was interesting because this behind me is based on one of them. And I made a bunch of these. And the idea was to combine illustration with animation and create these kind of weird little loops that all tell these tiny little stories that have sort of a little bit of an edge to them. It's just, I don't know, it's just a little bit different. And I really enjoyed making these because they were super quick to make, because the style was really simple. I also started adding some subtle texture to the animations, which is stuff that I still use today. Onto the score. solid 5 out of 5 for the fun scale. I loved it. It was quick to make, they were fun to do, they were weird, it was ticking all the boxes. And for the usefulness scale, it's a solid 4 out of 5 because I'm turning them into paintings. And it was just a really useful and enjoyable experience overall. On to the next one, which is painting. I gotta show you the painting first though. Painting is the latest hobby that I've got into, and I'm not very good at it, but I'm enjoying it, I'm having fun, and the whole point isn't to try and make something that's beautiful and the best thing I could ever create. It's purely to disconnect from the computer. A perfect example is this week coming up, I'm going to be at my computer for probably at least 60 hours, and I'm going to be drawing for almost all of it. And to have something like painting to just completely disconnect, not look at emails, not think about work or anything, just have good music on, dance, unwind. It's just, yeah, I'm loving it. It's the best. On to a score. Fun score is easily, it's a solid 5 out of 5. I mean, most of them have been quite high up there on the fun score, but that's what hobbies are. Hobbies are fun, they're meant to be fun. Usefulness score, it's a good, strong 4 out of 5, purely for the fact that I just spend so much time on my computer, and this is the one thing that can get me away from that. It's a nice way to unwind, and yeah, I'm loving it. So that's for hobbies. Yeah, there's been a whole bunch of other ones along the way, but I tried to stick to ones that were at least visual, so I could pop stuff up on screen and make it at least half enjoyable, you know? If anyone ever watches this, drop your Hyperfocus hobbies in the comments below, so I've got ideas for my next, whatever next crazy phase I go down. But yeah, it was a fun video to make. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next one.